Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you've come back for part 2 of the Mileena cosplay, you are in the right place. We are going to get started on the makeup portion today. So for the first part of this cosplay, I already have my foundation down, and I'm going to start by contouring in my cheekbones with a light warm brown. That one was from the Butt Naked palette, and now I'm going in with a highlighter from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I personally think these highlighters apply better with fingertips than with brush. With brush, I feel like I get a lot of fallout and not a good application. I really like to shine. Before I get any further, I'm going to get my face mask up over my face. It is a little bit tight for me, so I'm going to store it around my neck when I don't have it pulled up over my nose. Next, I'm going to the first edition 120 palette from BH Cosmetics, and I'm dipping into some of these pink tones here. Using a large fluffy brush over my crease, I'm going to be blending out that bright pink shadow. Now I'm going underneath my eyes and creating a blend as well. I want it to look a little smoked out and maybe even a little irritated to add to that really menacing look that is Mileena. Now I'm going in with an angled brush and I'm adding black to my crease on either side of my eyes. And then I'm going back with that same fluffy brush and blending out. Next, I'm going in with a sticky primer and I'm putting that primer on my eyelids. Now I'm going in with the Urban Decay Heavy Metals palette, the silver color, and I'm using my fingertips to pick it up and dab it in where my primer is. This is another product that I feel like just doesn't work well on a brush. Doing a little bit of liner on the inside of my waterline. Make sure not to pull down in your eyes too far. And now I'm going in with the Stila Diamond Dust and patting that in over top of the Heavy Metals silver. I'm going in with the pink one more time on that fluffy brush and just adding it over top of the other black and pink and blending it into the edges of the silver and just darkening everything up again. Now I've got a felt tip liner and I'm just going to get a little bit of liner on the very edge of my lash line. I'm not going for anything too defined. I want it to go with that smoked out kind of messy makeup look that I have for the rest. Next, I'm going into my brows. I'm using a really dark brown because I'm going to have a black wig on later on. So I want to make sure that my brows are going to match my wig and not my current bright orange hair. My brows are actually shaped a little different from each other, so I'm always working really hard to sharpen them and try and get them to match because one sits lower and arches different than the other, and it drives me absolutely insane. I'm blending out as I get to the fronts of them so they don't look too sharp. Now we're on to the face paint. So I'm using a Cameleon white face paint to draw on the teeth, and I'm actually using a reference photo from online to get the teeth in the right shape and placement that hers are in the video game. For right now, I'm just outlining in white. I'm being careful to check that reference picture to make sure I'm getting everything right where I need it to be. Next, I'm going to start filling in everything that I outlined. Ta-da! Magically filled. Now I want to go in with black in between the teeth, creating depth. I'm using another Cameleon color. This one is like a velvety black, and I really like the texture of it and how it looks. Both sides filled, moving on. So I'm not sure, looking at the reference photos, if it's supposed to look a little torn, but that's kind of the feel that I get from it. So I'm going in and putting in all these small little fissures and detail lines so that it looks like exposed muscle or torn flesh. I don't know what scared me at this point in time, but something freaked me out. My apology for the squeaks. My cat tried to join me for my voiceover. All right, moving on. I have two different kinds of reds, and there's no rhyme or reason where I put one or the other. One's just a little bit deeper and it has a little bit of metallic in it, and one's a little bit brighter, and I want to be able to create a little bit of depth, so I'm using a bit of both. I'm going in, I'm leaving red in between all of those little fissures that I painted, and then I'm actually pulling some of it out of the shape as well to add to that torn texture. Remember that having every single line perfect isn't necessarily the goal, especially with something this textured, so don't get caught up on the little things. Just go with the flow. I'm deepening some of my previous lines with the black, and I'm adding a couple more. Layering is really important, so as many layers as you can get in to be able to help create that depth, the better. If you layer too far, you're gonna just get mush and it's not gonna be defined anymore, but definitely layer up as much as you can. I've switched to a yellow for this, and I'm using yellow on the teeth to yellow them up and get them darkened, much like in the pictures that I'm referencing online. The yellow that I'm using is a little bit too bright, I think, but I ended up rolling with it and really liking it. And I thought then if there was any black light anywhere there that my teeth would glow, and that would be pretty kick-ass. So I'm using white and yellow together to kind of blend the yellow in so it's a shadow and not a super straight, ridiculous line. Now I'm going in with these NYX liquid liners, and I'm using that to create all the really fine lines and fissures on the teeth themselves. God, I can talk today. Woo! So you could do this with a really fine detail brush as well. I just don't have one. But you could do it with a fine detail brush and face paint. Moving on. I'm now trying to dirty up the teeth and get them darker as well by using just a little bit of shadow and deepening them up and dirtying them up a little bit to make them darker. I also use shadow around my edges and of the face paint itself, and I feel like I lost that footage, but I topped it off with a pinkish lip gloss. Didn't want anything too dark, and that was my finished look. The video clips that you guys are seeing are actually at the end of the day of con, so you can see how it held up. I feel like it definitely faded a little bit, but I was running around a lot and in and out of stage lights, so I'm pretty happy overall with how it turned out. If you did not see part 1 of this, it is linked below, and you can see how I made this entire Mileena cosplay in itself for under $40. So if you like videos like this and you want to see more of them, hit the like button, subscribe, and notifications, please. I did put this entire look together for a panel that I was speaking at with my friend Spiros, and he took some professional pictures of that and did a really cool breakdown of how that all worked. If you want to see the finished photos, you can visit my Instagram or his Instagram, which I have linked below. I highly encourage you guys to follow him, especially if you're into photography. He has some great tips and tricks and some amazing videos on how to work with lights, different camera equipment, the whole nine. And I will see you next time.